iOS 14's canceled. Really? I'm about to record a video and you tell me this now? Okay, whatever. Bye, Tim. Alright, hey guys, what's up? Sam here. Welcome back to another video. And, we got a bit of a reality check today for iOS 14. The software update's still coming. I'm just playing around, but I'm not sure it's going to be what we expected. Drop a like if you're looking forward to the video. If you learned something new, hit subscribe for more, and let's go ahead and jump into iOS 14. First, I just wanted to say I still have my Black Lives Matter fundraiser going on, so please donate to support the NAACP during this moment of awakening for a lot of us. We're already halfway there. I am beyond happy and proud of you guys for jumping up and supporting, and we gotta close it off with the last 500. So let's get to work and finish it. All right. So over the past couple days, I've been doing some reading. What? A Zoomer reading? A millennial? Heck, I don't even know how old I am. But more importantly, I've been doing some analysis, I will tell you, about the situation for iOS 14 and how after everything I've come across, it doesn't look like this year is going to be a big update. It seems like it's going to be kind of an S year. Usually Apple uses that moniker with iPhones, although they haven't done it in recent history with the 4S, the 5S, the 6S, and I think that's what we're looking at for iOS 14 for a number of reasons. First off, if you go back to the initial big report we got about iOS 14 from someone who's very credible, Mark Gurman over at Bloomberg. He had this great report about Craig Federighi, big development chief at Apple, Air Force One, basically pulling the company together and being like, all right guys, there's some systemic problem we've got here where the firmware is not coming together like we want it to. Like there's something in the middle blocking us. And essentially it was because Apple was adding so many features at one time to the development builds that engineers couldn't even figure out what was wrong with one feature because there were 10 other features that were buggy and causing issues with that one. So it took really long to develop. So Apple said, okay, what if we had toggles for everything and you could more easily annotate what you wanted and what you didn't and come to a better coding conclusion because of that. And apparently that is helping things. But aside from making it easier for engineers to actually work on the builds at Apple, it was also for consumers like you and me as well. Because if you look at this graph, this is essentially the crux of this article, that iOS 13 was essentially the buggiest update in modern or recent or all history, requiring 8 bug fix updates, which is a lot within the first couple of months, way more than even iOS 11, which prior to this year was highly regarded as the buggiest iOS release ever. Well, if you look at iOS 11, what happened the next year? iOS 12. You guys remember iOS 12? You're going to start seeing some parallels here between what we've been hearing for iOS 14 and what we got back then in 2018. Apple called a similar meeting in January of 2018, saying there has been some issues with our development. We need to figure this out. And then they thought they figured it out. They came out with iOS 12, which was like the most stable, quickest release ever. And then iOS 13 sort of started from the ground up, got these great features, expanded iPadOS, gave us dark mode, things like we wanted forever, but then it was really buggy. So now in 2020, what are we expecting? Well, if Apple follows what they did again, and this article suggests they could do that, then it seems like iOS 14 is going to be that let's fix it and figure out what's up and push some features back to next year, which Gurman actually talks about, saying that some features are being considered, and this was before a pandemic, in November of 2019 to be pushed back to the iOS 15 release, which leads us to 9to5Mac's crazy amount of information they released about iOS 14. I mean, if I scroll through that page, it makes my hand a little numb because they put out so much information. Because the build that they got for iOS 14 was from December of 2019 from everything we're hearing, from trustable sources, not trustable sources. We're hearing that the build is from December and it was on some iPhone 11 apparently. After that leaked out, they started digging through it. They're still digging through it to this day. We got all this great information that CarPlay was getting wallpapers, that we were getting cursor support on the iPad, and then Apple added that in iPadOS 13.4 as a surprise, that we're getting all these other features baked in, new stuff in the Maps app, new stuff in Safari, so much. But that's old info now. And even if I had my hands on that build and it was running on an iPhone, I don't think that is going to be representative fairly of what we're going to be seeing in just a couple weeks at WWDC. Because even in December, Apple wasn't working from home. Everything was normal. Life was normal. I mean, gosh, it's weird to think we've been in quarantine or not been able to socially interact with people like normal for months now. Back to that first Bloomberg article, even though some features were being considered for iOS 15, they still said that at the time iOS 14 was going to rival iOS 13 in terms of its capabilities, which is excellent news. That would mean it'd be stabler than iOS 13, but with just as many features. We'll mix that in with the pandemic and some more recent bylines from Bloomberg, and it doesn't seem like that's actually going to be the case. Where are my features? They're gone. I need iOS 14. In this most recent article talking about Apple announcing the transition to ARM-based Mac processors, there's a small section about WWDC, which is weird because Mark Gurman is usually like the person that gets the most iOS stuff right every single year. They mentioned 3 changes we can expect to see this year. Improvements to augmented reality, which I kid you not, we hear every single year. 2, there's going to be better integration with outside apps and services. So it sounds like Apple has decided to go on and allow like Outlook to replace Mail or Google Chrome potentially to replace Safari. And 3, that the Apple Watch is going to have more fitness features. Not only are all those quite abstract, they don't exactly paint a clear picture here. In fact, the one consistent thing that we've heard about iOS 14 from the get-go is the fact that performance is going to be a big focus this year, arguably the biggest focus. When did we last hear that? For iOS 12, which in retrospect to iOS 11 or iOS 13 was a really small update. It didn't add that much. I know we got group notifications. A lot of other things are escaping me. I wanted to make this video because we're still seeing features like today that call audio recording was apparently supposed to be coming. 9 to 5 Mac, according to them, they reached out to some sources, and that is an internal feature. It is not coming. Not only are there like a trillion legal hurdles Apple would have to go over, but rolling that out overnight, and I feel like that would be a little sketchy that you could just record anybody on the phone. There's like 1-party, 2-party consent states. It's a whole thing. I don't think it's gonna happen. I wanted to sort of tone our expectations because up until this point, it's just been talking about all the leaks and rumors. And while one day, I think there's a good chance a lot of those will be a part of iOS, I think a significant number could have been pushed back to iOS 15, like widgets. Home screen widgets or widgets of any kind could very well be coming in iOS 15 because they just aren't ready yet. There is some silver lining here though, because if you look at what Apple did with iOS 12, look at how many updates were required to fix things. That is 2 in 2 months. I did not realize they did that well. And I don't think there's any secret that there's been a lot of issues considering Apple is now on 13.6 beta 2 in testing. That is 0.2 like X versions more than we've ever seen. Apple usually capped out at something 0.4. We're at 0.6 this year. There's clearly something underlying going on. So Apple's going to be fixing it this year. And while some features like widgets might not be coming until next year, the silver lining here is that we're going to get a really solid update. It's really easy to get lost in the hype right now, especially with things so close. And don't get me wrong, I'm just as excited for iOS 14. I can't wait to see what Apple's unveiling. And I have a feeling that they've got a couple tricks up their sleeves. I mean, keep this in mind. This is the first ever online only WWDC. How is the crowd going to work? Are there going to be crickets in the audience? Are there just going to be little iPhones sitting in every chair? Can I FaceTime into an iPhone in the audience? I don't know. These are all wild suggestions. But this is going to be the most different WWDC ever, and potentially it could be the most different iOS update that we've ever seen. So I want to throw a wild card out here. So iOS 14 is going to be a small update, right? But what platform has not seen a lot recently? I would say the Mac. I don't think the Mac has seen a significant change in forever. So hear me out. I've got this theory. It stems from a tweet from Love the Dream, our favorite leaker here on iUpdate, who tweeted design refresh for this OS. It's not iOS because nothing has indicated we're seeing that. I don't think it's watchOS. That's still relatively new. tvOS, I mean, I think it's fine right now. But what feels really stale? What hasn't changed for a while? And what is about to undergo the most significant shift ever? It's the Mac. We're getting those ARM processors. It's a whole different architecture that macOS is going to be running on. So what if the big update this year, because the iMac refresh is said to be unveiled at WWDC, is on new Mac software, a version of macOS that is completely revamped. We haven't heard really anything about this. I haven't seen much. I mean, there's been speculation like every year one of the platforms could get a major redesign, but with the fact that a new iMac and ARM processors are coming at this event, it's going to be online only, and Love to Dream is saying one of the big OSs is getting a refresh, and we can pretty easily rule out 3. I think macOS could be the star of the show this year, which could mean so many things, and I'll let you guys decide what that means down below. But I wanted to throw that out there, some wild speculation to help wipe our tears from iOS 14 not being the update that we thought. So you're welcome for ruining your day. In all seriousness, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hoped you enjoyed me being real with you. You guys are the best. Thanks for watching. Love each and every single one of you. Again, donate if you can to support the NAACP. Let's get to $1,000 bucks, guys. All right. Thanks for watching. I've been Sam. I'll see all of you in my next video.